I visited a friend whose husband died of metastatic cancer, and on her kitchen countertop, she had half an empty container of supermarket cookies, the cheapest supermarket white bread that you can buy, and a powdered strawberry drink mix. And she looked at me and she said, "Hi, friends. By now you probably know someone who has passed from cancer or is currently going through cancer treatment. And you may be wondering when it's going to be your turn." Well, I'm Dr. Lou, and I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to end like that. As a double-boarded physician practicing for 27 years, I didn't used to see this many cancer patients and so young either. However, in the last decade, this landscape has been changing. Maybe I'm growing older, but I'm really not that old. My mother-in-law is 93. She doesn't have cancer. My parents never got cancer. But I'm seeing a lot of young people get really serious cancer. And cancer starts when your immune system doesn't work well. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can activate your immune system to reduce your risk of cancer. Number one, go get some berries, blueberries. Get it frozen, freeze-dried, or fresh. They're all excellent options. Blueberries are just packed with anthocyanins, which are plant compounds that actually enhance natural killer cell activity. Studies have shown that regular blueberry consumption can significantly improve your natural killer cells, at least their numbers. So natural killer cells make two special signals. And the first one actually is a food that helps helper cells grow in the immune system. And the second one is a text message that tells the cells to come on over here. So the helper cells are called dendritic cells, and their job is to show the immune system soldiers, the T cells, a picture of the cancer cell so that the soldiers know exactly what to attack. So natural killer cells, they basically bring in and feed the dendritic cells. So the goal is to go get more natural killer cells inside a tumor, as long as the dendritic cells are inside the tumor. And this matters significantly for treatment. So when scientists looked at tumors from real people, the tumors that had a lot of natural killer cells and a lot of dendritic cells together, they were the ones that actually responded best to a drug therapy called anti-PD-1. It's a medicine that wakes up the immune system. And these patients, they actually live longer. And you may be wondering why I'm using like this complex language and names like natural killer cells and cell signals. While cancer chemotherapy was traditionally really toxic and unable to cure cancer. However, now we're entering into a scientific era of recognizing our immune system as an incredible organ. And if we can give it the right tools to get the right soldiers were in the right places, making the right signals, then these immune cells, your own immune cells, can take care of cancer and potentially cure you of cancer. And this is like a billion-dollar industry that Big Pharma is heavily investing in. They're investing in a ton of brain power. And however, if you think about it, Big Pharma wasn't around 100 years ago. What about 200 years ago? I mean, John Adams, he lived to 90 without Big Pharma. So currently, the average American doesn't live as long, 76, and they get sick 10 years before they go. So I say we try to replicate John Adams' recipe of longevity, and we put the science that he used for his body in our bodies. And that's why number two, drink green leaves like green tea. Green tea has epigalactocalcium gallate, which boosts natural killer cell activities and reduce inflammation in the body. By the way, anytime you eat anything, you either activate or suppress your immune cells. So you can literally go to the grocery store today or when, the sun is up, depending on where you're at, and you can find lots of options of green tea. There's matcha versus non-matcha green teas. They're not the same, but make sure it's a green tea, specifically from the tree Camellia sinensis. It is an evergreen tree. That means it has leaves all year round. And the confusion is because there's actually more than 90 species of green tea that naturally grow from Nepal to Taiwan. Now, China is the world's largest green tea producer, making billions of tons every year. And it wasn't actually popular until a Chinese emperor named Xinong accidentally discovered this green tea drink because a piece of leaf contaminated his boiled water. The Indians believed that Buddha drank green tea to help him sleep. Now, depending on what region you're from, you probably prefer different green teas. If you're from Japan, sencha is the most popular. It's basically the least bitter and has a deep green color. It is from the first crop of the season. Bancha is a lower grade of sencha, and in bancha, they actually include not only the leaves, but the stalks. Gaikuru is the finest green tea in Japan. It has to be cultivated in the shade for 2 weeks before they harvest it, and that gives them a different flavor than regular green tea. Now, matcha is a type of tea used in tea ceremonies. And what they literally do is they take the green leaf and they grind it into a fine powder. Actually, I drink matcha every morning because it's the most nutritious, in my opinion. Tea can actually, though, inhibit the absorption of iron in your food, which can be a good thing if you have an iron overload like hemochromatosis and you don't want to absorb more iron from your food. But it could be a bad thing if you're anemic from iron. Now, my dad preferred black tea, which is actually fermented green tea, and he literally would drink tea all day long. Green tea increases the activity of your immune cells, including natural killer cells and T helper cells called CD4. Clinical studies have actually shown green tea to reduce DNA damage in cells. And in fact, a study in Japan showed that people who drank more green tea had half the recurrence of polyps, and they were 25% smaller. And by the way, if you find values in my videos, would you mind checking if you're subscribed? And if you are not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, like button, and share button, because it does change how many people get to watch my videos. I appreciate your partnership in helping to change the world. So far I've talked about 2 ancient foods. I mean, humans have been eating blueberries for 13,000 years. Have you noticed that many people, we're not doing that anymore, eating real whole food? And for some reason, we think factory formulated blends are adequate. So here's what I mean. Recently, I visited a friend whose husband died of metastatic cancer. And on her kitchen countertop, she had half an empty container of supermarket cookies, the cheapest supermarket white bread that you can buy, and a powdered strawberry drink mix. And she looked at me and she said, "That's not my food." But he loved that stuff and ate it for years. So her husband was addicted to ultra-processed foods, which I'm sure you probably have in your home. And I'm sure you've seen it served in churches and sold in supermarkets and in schools. I call them factory formulated blends. You basically start with a powder made from a factory. You add water and you can drink it as a shake. Then you add heat to that concoction and it can become a cake, dry it up some more, it's a cookie, or you can make a loaf of bread or a protein bar. The ingredients in these foods cannot be made by you or your great-grandmother in your kitchen. These are chemical, folks, disguised under the term nutrients and packaged together to look pretty so that you think that you're eating food. Now, sure, it's edible, but is it really food? Over time, ultra-processed diets, basically factory-formulated blends, they increase chronic inflammation, they suppress your immune system, and they're associated with a higher rate of obesity, diabetes, and cancers. Foods are supposed to nourish your body, not suppress it. And I think it's so crazy that people are talking about how apples are sweeter than they used to be and they won't eat it, yet they're eating factory-formulated blends that hasn't stood the test of time. So when you eat an apple, you're eating more than just sugar, folks. In fact, you're getting very little sugar compared to the rest of the apple. You're getting water, you're getting fiber, lots of different fibers, including soluble fiber. And did I mention at least 20 other micronutrients, especially one called quercetin, that are found abundantly in apple skins? Now, quercetin has been shown to be active against lung cancer cells. So don't peel that apple skin. And unfortunately, skins, the apple skin, they're not in apple juice. Every year around the world, tons of apple skin are thrown away because people just want the juice. I would take it and put it in the blender. Now, people have taken that, put in the blender, and then drip that juice on prostate and breast cancer cells in petri dishes and have seen these cells stop growing. Because apparently, apple skins can also activate suppressor proteins called MAPspin that are already in cancer cells. So cancer cells are programmed to then turn off. Can your protein bar or protein shake do that? I don't think so. We need to eat whole food, folks, that can turn off the wrong genes. MAPsin is a tumor suppressor gene. And when suppressor genes are activated, then your tumor stops growing. Apples actually also contain many other antioxidants, such as catechins, epicatechins, cyanidins, and procyanidins. It's been known since the 1990s that eating an apple a day could potentially keep your oncologist away. So why aren't you eating apples every day? I can eat actually 3 or 4 apples in one sitting, especially during apple season when they taste the best. I think my record is 5 apples in a sitting. I was pretty full by then. When I was in college, my mom used to buy me these giant grapefruit-sized Fuji apples, and I would bring them in class, especially to this one class called molecular biology that was late in the afternoon. I always felt like that, tiredness, that sleepiness, even though it was a great class. So I would be chewing on my apple to wake me up and help me pay attention, but that probably irritated my classmates. Hey, but I stayed awake, I got an A in that class, and I got my antioxidants at the same time eating those apples. They are one of my favorite fruits because they're relatively cheap, they're easy to store and transport. And if you look at data gathered across the world, the more apples people eat, the lower the risk of breast cancer, lung cancer, oral cancer, colon cancer, and renal cancer. If you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. People think that cancer is such a rare event, but the truth of the matter is everyone has cancer cells right now. Yeah, you heard me right. Your body is constantly forming cancer cells that can grow out of control and become a problem. So why doesn't everybody have symptoms of cancer or kick the bucket? Well, the answer lies in your immune system, which is a 24/7 guardian that babysits every single cell in your body, every single organ. But here's the catch. You have to activate that immune system. But if you activate it too much, it can overcompensate and destroy normal tissue. And that's what happens when you expose people to chemicals that doesn't agree with the body. But that's the beauty of eating prepackaged, natural whole foods, because in it are proportions of nutrients that are balanced just perfectly to talk to your immune system, just a little bit. But we have to be eating that, folks. We can't get it from osmosis. And if you're eating new foods, factory formulated blends, you're just volunteering your body to be a lab rat. The last 100 years, we've had this big, giant human experiment eating man-made factory formulated blends, and more so in the last 50 years. And we think it's edible material, but where has it gotten us? An early casket. Instead, we've had data collected from America observing over 800,000 people and how they achieve longevity. And it ain't by eating factory formulated blends. Let's use common sense, folks. The medical system can't give you health. Your doctors can't eat for you. They can't sleep for you. They can't exercise for you. You need to get the essentials that your body needs to thrive. The essentials that talk to your immune system just enough so that it makes it smart enough to catch cancer cells. And that starts with whole foods. So before you finish the rest of the video, you may want to go grab that cup of green tea and start unlocking the secrets to your immune health. Now, while you're searching through that cupboard, see if you have this spice, cardamom. That's an aromatic seed of a plant related to the ginger family. Now, we think it's reserved for culinary folks like a chef. But did you know that people around the world, they use spices medicinally? In America, we have this thing that, food isn't like helpful for our health. But the rest of the world, they have the opposite idea. We have tried medications and we have poor results since we're not living as long, right? I mean, we keep trying medications to take care of dietary issues, such as irritable bowel syndrome. You would think that the problem caused by diet would be fixed by changing the diet, but no, we're trying to get a pill to fix that, and it doesn't work. However, across the ocean, lots of people have tried cardamom to find relief. I mean, how does it make any sense that we're looking for a pill to fix symptoms such as intestinal gas, spasms, and heartburn from diet through a pill instead of changing the diet? You would think that it's common sense. But, what can I say, right? People have a different logic to treat health. But, unfortunately, we've confused health from being less sick. Health is achieved through avoiding things that are toxic to our bodies, choosing things that help make our bodies stronger, and making sure our bodies have the essential nutrients to help us thrive. And cardamom, besides being a tummy remedy, has anti-cancer activity because it enhances activity of natural killer cells, even though it doesn't increase its numbers. So every time I eat cardamom, I basically just sprinkle it in my food. I know I'm converting some natural killer cells into supernatural killer cells, kind of like how Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man. Now, if you order Japanese curry, you'll probably taste some cardamom. And they also may add some black pepper. Did you know that black pepper with cardamom enhances natural killer activity more than when you eat black pepper alone? Wouldn't it be great if we had a cardamom black pepper shaker instead of a salt and pepper shaker? Now, we've known for decades that lots of things in nature have anti-cancer effects, and yet we're turning away from them, eating these whole natural foods because we don't have enough science, and instead we're eating factory formulated blends and excess, even though we have plenty of science that tells us it's harmful. I refer to these foods as Frankenstein inventions with nutrition labels and pretty packaging. Have you noticed that when people talk about their diet, they say, well, I've eaten my protein, my carbs, and then I got some vegetables. Notice how there's something wrong with putting those three nouns together. Proteins and carbs are nutrients, folks. Vegetables is the only whole food category, and we've confused nutrients with whole food. Whole foods can contain nutrients. Many of them have the proteins and carbs, but there's no whole food that only has protein. Even if you ate just like a piece of meat, there's more than just protein in that meat. There's vitamins, there's minerals, and there's fats. But when you eat powdered protein, factory formulated, basically a chemical concoction extracted maybe from whole food, you're no longer talking about the same thing. You can't do that extraction from home. We don't eat nutrients. We eat food. But we're megadosing these nutrients as if it's food, and it's not. And that's why it's so dangerous, because we're filling our real estate up, basically our stomach, and we're preventing it from getting other protective nutrients that should be going along with that food. Your immune system requires all of it. And that's why when you eat whole vegetables, we never say some kind of factory formulated vegetables because people just can't do that. You can't put nutrients together and protect your immune system. But plants literally do when we eat them. When we eat the plants, we're actually borrowing their defense system. And there's so many things that happen when you eat whole food. For example, when you eat a berry, like the ones I mentioned before, blueberries, you actually open up your blood vessels and promote blood flow. There's literally flavonols, antioxidants found in berries, and they use it for their own defense. But when you eat their nutrients, it defends our body, but it also gives flavor to our food. They make the food attractive for us to look at. And they also feed multiple animals. They're responsible for the aroma, the colors, and the flowers that attract pollinators, like bees and birds. But today, we're putting artificial flavors and ingredients to make us think that we're eating blueberry flavored. We're tricking the human brain because it's that easy to trick us. And yet it's messing up our biology. The chemicals that we create are created because people think consumers are dumb. But when you don't listen to them and you go get whole foods made out of seeds and packaged with antioxidants, then you're getting pretty much the plant's defense system that defends them against UV radiation, drought, frost, freezing. I mean, these are chemicals that protect the plants, and you have the privilege to use it for your health too. This world has been perfectly designed, folks. And when you eat these antioxidants, it's not just one. There's like at least 6,000 flavonols that contribute to different pigments or colors in their fruits, herbs, and vegetables and medicinal plants. I'm sure if you could take a pill to stop cancer, would you just do it once a week or once a year? And if you had cancer, wouldn't you want to do it every day? So remember how I told you that cancer cells exist in your body right now? It's just not big enough to cause you a problem until it grows. And it doesn't grow because you have a competent immune system. So how do you think you're going to keep your immune system well if you don't give it what it needs? That's why it's important to eat plants every day. I personally want to activate my natural killer cells daily. And then I want to circulate them throughout my whole body. And the only way to do that is to move. Because when you move, you're not just exercising growing muscle, you're actually moving your immune system and helping it push through the blood so that it goes from point A to point B where the cancer cells are at. But if you sit on your bottom all day long, you're basically forming a stagnant pond, folks. And if you literally don't move for a couple of hours, you'll develop a sore because you're forming a tourniquet and it becomes gangrene on your bottom. The bottom line is, don't lose your blood flow. If you lose your blood flow, you lose tissue. So before you get black gangrene, your body will go through changes of inflammation caused by your immune system. And it's up to your immune system to dictate if you will repair or not. So if you don't give your immune system the right equipment to repair, it's not going to help you out. And sometimes DNA damage becomes irreversible. And that's why I keep talking about high blood pressure. It's so dangerous because it literally prevents your immune system to getting where it needs to go. So if you want to learn how to control that, watch the next video.